This is Bert. Bert, came to us probably 5 years ago. He had been through every possible route for traditional physical therapy and was discharged early in every case, and then eventually ended up at a local nursing home where I think, and Bert will confirm, maybe had 2 or 3 PT visits, the most.
Yeah.
And they basically said nothing we can do, and they put him into long-term care at the facility. And I'm not quite sure how Bert exactly found out about us, but I'm pretty sure it was through
It was through Latricia.
Tricia. What was her name?
Latricia.
Latricia, who's a registered nurse, case manager, but I think she got our name through the Independent Living Center in Stratford, and I cannot think of it. But the Independent Living Center, and it was a long shot, and this is really interesting as I talked about earlier. Working there part-time as a volunteer was our client from 5 years ago that we taught how to stand after a C4 diving accident. So he was working there part-time, and he said, you should give Moving with Hope a call. Maybe he can help Bert, or they can help Bert. So then about a couple weeks later, we had a big team meeting with the whole family, big Italian family, in my office. And maybe you can take it from there, Bert. Kind of tell us how you came in and what we did for you. I mean, I'll briefly say when Bert first came, he did come in, I think, 2 or 3 hours a visit for 3 days a week, and he was making excellent progress. I think it was 2 days a week. No, 2 hours. It was 2 hours.
No, it was more than 2 hours. 3 hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
I think you maybe even came in a 4th day or never.
No, 3 days.
We increased his hours because we felt more practice would help, and it did. And because we're a charity, we said no extra charge.
That's true, yeah.
That is true, even though we probably should have charged. So take it from there, Bert. Tell us a little bit about what happened, maybe how you were injured,
Wow.
and where you came to us, and what happened.
It was 2017. I was over a friend of mine's house. We went in the backyard on the porch, 1st floor. We just were having a picnic. I got up, I went to lean. I put my hand on the guardrail. As I leaned, the guardrail broke, and I fell. I fell not even maybe about 4 feet high. And I fell, I didn't feel anything, and then all of a
He
sudden,
fell flat on his head, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I think he
and
did.
the only thing I could move was my head. And I told my friend I can't move. They called the ambulance. They took me to Yale, New Haven, and they operated on me. You can see the big scar in the back of my neck. And the only thing I could move was my head. Couldn't talk too good. Then I finally started talking, and they had to feed me. And after a while, I ended up Lord Chamberlain nursing home in Stratford. And I was there for 4 years. And in the beginning, wanted to do therapy, but they said there was not much to do, couldn't do anything with me. And that was it, no therapy until we found Ted's place. I started going there, and they had to use what do you call it, hoist to lift me, you know that?
Yep, the Hoyer lift.
Hoyer lift to lift me, to do exercises, and
Yeah, we used to Hoyer him onto the total gym, the red cord,
everything.
mat table, and move his legs until he eventually moved his own legs.
And little by little, I started moving both legs on the total gym. And little by little, they would stand me up, help me, hold me while I was walking. And, I don't know, little by little, I started getting better. I was able to walk, I was able to do the stairs up and down. And
You know, another excellent result of our hard work, which is what I talked about before, is it was at about that time we hired an excellent occupational therapist who was NDT trained, neurodevelopmental trained, and she was in her late 60s, semi-retired, years of experience working at some of the largest rehab hospitals in the country. And she worked with Bert super, super hard, right, Barbara?
yeah, Barbara.
Barbara did an amazing amount of work with him and basically got him to use his left and right arm better, got him walking. We got, she asked him, go to Big Y and ask him to have him donate a Big Y mini shopping cart. So I asked the regional president, he donated one, and he put it in the letter and said, this is the first donation we've made in Connecticut since we've been in Connecticut. I said, well, I'm on. And we put weights in the shopping cart and Barbara would walk maybe 200 feet with you.
Yeah,
I mean, and then COVID hit. And then, you know, we didn't do anything with Bert probably until January of this year. He came back.
but before that, before COVID, I was able to walk a lot better, and I was doing therapy at, what's the place in, Wallingford?
Gaylord?
I went to Gaylord, I was starting to do some therapy, ended up doing water therapy on the swimming pool,
Yep.
and I got so good that I ran out of therapy, that was it. So I was going there, and I was getting in the pool, walking in the pool by myself, and that was all due to all the help I got here,
Yep, it's the name of the game. Name of the game. Get to the next level.
so.
And
I'm
now,
very good.
and now he's here. You know, I would call this a wellness program. You know, where he does the myocycle, which is an
Okay.
FES bike.
Table water,
He does a lot of red cord and table work. I would love to have him eventually, and you'll see it on the other side, start using the Alter G. But that's gonna take a little bit of time. The Alter G would be a game changer, because it'll bring your weight down to like 30% of your weight and get him walking. I had a personal family crisis when I was young, and I decided to change my career path, and I I was fortunate to get accepted to Columbia University's Teachers College, Movement Science Department, Public Health Department. And after graduating, almost immediately created a clinic as a solution to my dad's lack of access to any sort of physical rehabilitation after a very serious heart attack. Which seems odd because, you know, cardiac rehab has been around since 1964, but there are certain criteria that every single diagnosis has to allow a person to enter. And one of them is a certain amount of pumping capacity of the heart, and my dad's was much too low. So they said, no, no, no. So we created Life Designs Rehabilitation Center as a solution. My dad came 2 to 3 days a week for 13 or 14 years. He passed in 1992, living 12 to 15 years longer than anyone ever thought he would after the nature of his cardiac disease, you know, back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. Now, you know, they live longer, but medicine has advanced dramatically. Diagnostic treatments have advanced dramatically. But in that time period, my wife was a physical therapist, and I both recognized, and I did for my work in the early 80s, that a huge population of people was growing by the millions every year in America that didn't have a solution to their physical disability after a stroke or a spinal cord injury or Parkinson's or MS. And it became our passion. And you know, we probably had 10 or 15 people a year. It's manageable. You know, rolled it into our costs, and we were able to finance and support them. But then the numbers grew dramatically. And by the late 2007, 8, 9, we had to do something. So we worked with our local congressman, Jim Himes, and we formed a nonprofit called Moving with Hope. And it's through that nonprofit that we gained enormous support and momentum, both financially and through public recognition. I have to thank, I won't here, but thank many, many people in the newspaper business for supporting me over the years and giving us stories in the paper. And to this day, we feel that, sure, Shelton is tremendously gifted, so to speak, by this wonderful opportunity that we've given them, because we are so unique to Connecticut. But people can't travel for more than 10 miles with any comfort, with any kind of a severe disability. The jostling, the time, the energy, the getting dressed, the getting undressed, the staff costs are ridiculous and getting worse, and there's a staff shortage of in-home care providers throughout the country, never mind Connecticut. Connecticut more so because we're an expensive state to live in. So we need to bring this, and this is basically the mission and the vision of both our company and our video, is to bring this program and this piece of equipment, which I call the Rehabilitative Work Center, or Rehabilitative Work Station, to every community in Connecticut. That is what's needed, and we need it very soon.
Can push one. 9, right? Now are you?
Yeah.
Go back, a little bit more.
She's got the
A little bit more.
Oh, no, right there, right there.
Well, this is one of them. I still
Okay.
didn't turn off the volume.
Yeah, that'll do the balance.
Must have been a hell of a Boy Scout, Claudia.
Yep. No, it has to be like that so
Yeah.
he can.
Yeah, otherwise it'll come off.
Yep.
Okay, this is Mike. Mike's been with us for probably 6 years. Mike had a motorcycle or car accident? He had a motorcycle accident when he was 17? 17. And Michael is now 50. Whew! Mike's done very well with us. Today he's on a machine that we bought because I know, as well as a lot of other people know, that the thing that keeps us from falling best is the muscles that brake our body, the brake. And that's called eccentric or negative work. It's very, very hard in an environment where your staff and your labor costs and your overhead are difficult to manage. And to do true eccentric work requires a lot of skill, a lot of patience, and oftentimes a lot of money. Granted, the machine costs quite a bit of money, but it'll pay for itself quickly. This is the only machine of its kind in the world, and we have the only one on the East Coast that works true negative work on the quads, hams, quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and calves. So Mike, you're showing the picture here. Hey Leroy, the picture here shows Mike, or a woman, kind of looks like Mike, but walking downhill, because that's where you use your brakes, walking down a hill. But we also need our brakes walking on flat land, walking on uneven surfaces that prevents us from falling. So this is an essential machine for people that have had brain injuries, Parkinson's, MS, cerebral palsy, spinal cord injury, anything that affects your balance, your reaction time to changes in surface. This is an essential machine, not the machine, not the only machine, but it's an essential machine to make Michael safer when he's in his community.
This is a wonderful place to be at. We got a lot of love. Very funny people here in Virginia. I think you would like it here. So this is a wonderful place to be at. People are very friendly here. You can feel and relax like this. So come and join us.
My name is Tad Dunai. I have been working with the population of neurologically impaired adults for 40 years. And through those 40 years of experience, I have come upon a device that I have invented that's designed to get people moving again who are unable to move effectively even after excellent physical therapy and occupational therapy, which is sadly often the case after a moderate to severe stroke, spinal cord injury, fall. People don't always recover according to a given expectation or plan of care, and this device is designed to bridge that gap, to get that person back moving enough to trigger an opportunity for their doctor to make a referral to a licensed physical therapist, occupational therapist. The device basically is designed around unloading the human body, making it up to 80% lighter. Water makes us about 25% lighter. You can put floaties on people and probably make them 50% lighter. But the therapist is in demand all the time with hands-on. They're constantly touching and moving and supporting the patient in the water. And sometimes that makes it very difficult to do complex movements unless you have another aid. And oftentimes that aid is not paid, so to speak, by insurance. So again, the patient gets less than optimal therapy during that half-hour session. And many times a half-hour session simply is nowhere near long enough. Our program here at Moving with Hope, which is a charity and shelter, people stay with us up to 5 hours a day because they're so frail. It takes them 5 hours between rest, snacks, food, and just socialization for the first time in years for some people to get what you and I would do in a half an hour to 45 minutes in therapy. So you need that special time span to allow people that have moderate to severe neurological impairment, orthopedic intolerance, all of the above and more, diabetes, peripheral neuropathy, lung issues associated with accidents. It's quite complicated, and you know, most of the time they need to be worked on multi-limbs at the same session, and often insurance will only pay for one side of one limb. So they'll pay for a right shoulder with a fall, even though the person also has a left hip and left knee problem from the fall. They may have to go to another therapist for the knee or the hip, but during that shoulder session, they can only work on the shoulder. Here we work on the whole bit. Very important. Integrated, comprehensive, full continuum, start to finish. So, here we go. So this machine is built on 2 electric gantries. A gantry is a device that has a lifting mechanism through a motor, which is in this top header, which brings the machine up and down in a span of possibly, it appears to be about 5 feet. So we can begin treating a patient by bringing them over with a wheelchair, power wheelchair. We can hoyer them onto a table with our lift, and they can begin doing stretching, basic range of motion, active range of motion, active passive range of motion, and then go on to the next phase, which is using other unloading devices like a red cord. A red cord, which is very infrequently used in America for a variety of reasons, not because it lacks any quality or any medical or efficacious benefit. Its scientific basis is well established all over the world. It doesn't work well in American healthcare for whatever reason. So the red cord will allow a person to unload their body to as low as 10-15% of their total body weight using bungees, slings, and larger support systems. So a person who can barely move on an ASIA scale, which is a spinal cord injury scale of 1 to 4, they may be a 1.5. They have sensation with very limited movement only on the left side, nothing on the right side. But they have some sensation on the right side. So by using red cord over the period of time, we can get people to move both sides. It may take 6 months. It may take 100 hours just using this one machine. But once a person can move both sides to some degree, the same equivalent, then you can transfer them to a total gym. So underneath this mat, okay, comes phase 2. So the mat table comes off, it's stored behind here, there's a bunch of cords that attaches to here so it doesn't fall over. And then these poles that are here to support the mat table are put up top. They're made out of aluminum, they're very light. And then now the person can be transferred with a Hoyer lift onto the total gym, and now they have a foot plate attached, like you see on TV with Christy Brinkley and Chuck Norris, except this one's a medical version, higher, stronger version. Now they can begin what's called, well, even red cord's closed chain. But now they begin doing something more specific to their greatest goal in life. I want to be able to walk again. I want to be able to stand independently, transfer and go to the bathroom independently, privately. That's what these people want for goal. That's it. They don't ask for much. And we can do that because you can progress them from a total gym, which is at a 10-degree angle, to a total gym that's at full 180 using this machine. Now they can, and we can also do one leg and two leg, very important. We can do ipsilateral, contralateral. We can do hopping and jumping. You know, get some pop back in their step. This takes time. There's no magic here. So now they're done with the total gym. Now we have the Hoyer lift becomes an overhead traverse with a harness. All this stuff is taken out of here and packed away, and we roll in a treadmill with a harness, and now they start walking with a person behind them to stabilize their core, because even though they have a strong or stronger lower extremity, what really makes us walk is our core. It has nothing to do with your leg strength. I can't tell you how many people I've had over the last 40 years with CP, MD, MS, great leg strength, no core, can't walk. But at least they can move their legs and they are stronger, so they get the value of muscle tone, muscle strength, vascular improvement, heart, lung improvement, but they will not be able to walk until they get a stronger core. So here, we got them on a treadmill, so we're working on their cardiovascular fitness because they're weight bearing, they're vertical like a real walking person. So again, key to recovery is task specificity. If you're not specific to the task or the goal, you will never achieve that goal. The outcome, you can't play baseball and expect to beat Tiger Woods in golf. They look real similar, and you can practice all you want swinging a bat. But if you don't swing that club through that golf plane, which is 2 planes, you will never beat anybody in golf. You'll just be a golfer. You know, you're not going to have you won't be able to play the game of golf because it's not task specific. And you got to have mass practice. So without mass practice, which is what we do here with this machine, and task specificity, it's unlikely you will improve toward your goal, which is what I said before. Stand, pivot, sit, potty, wipe yourself, stand up, pivot, get back in the wheelchair, go to the kitchen, say hi to your kids. That's the goal. What else do we do here with this machine? Well, the machine is also a full Pilates table. Pilates is a little advanced for my population, but Pilates is very popular and it's very powerful. So you can use these towers with Pilates springs, with therotubing, with handles, with ankle and wrist brackets to bring back this mat table and do a full Pilates routine. You can take the mat table off. We can stick a bar in one of these holes. All these holes have a specific purpose. The total gym is attached to this bar. This tower lifts up the total gym at 18 inches high or parallel to the ground. I slide in a protective safety stool. Even though the total gym's attached to this with a steel bracket and a hook, this is underneath the total gym just because we don't want anybody getting hurt. Because you come here to get better, not to get worse. So now the total gym becomes a reformer. So now you can work on your vestibular training. You can work on your cognitive training because you're not only moving, but you're moving in a very unknown environment. Kind of a scary environment, which obviously you have people close by so you don't get hurt. But it's by challenging multiple senses simultaneously that we get to the next level. Okay? So this is a machine that brings us from the lowest level of function to, and I quote, the machine and some of its components were instrumental in rehabbing some of the greatest athletes in the world after serious injury. Not my machine, but red cord, Pilates, overhead traverses with gait training, with a treadmill. You know, the greatest athletes in the world benefit from these pieces of equipment. So it's pretty obvious that we should share the same technology with people that are not so lucky, that need every bit of the technology that the most gifted have to recover after their injury. So we have multiple stations simultaneously. I mean, this can be completely broken apart. It can be stored. I don't know if Michelle can come over here, but it can be stored up top from the bottom. This is locked in with 2 screws, and all this stuff that you see here, pipes, are put in here so they're out of the way. And then you can break this unit apart, and it can be used as an overhead traverse by itself without this, because you've got this bar with these hooks where the harness hooks up, and you got the treadmill right here, you got a client here, you got a tech or a PT or OT right here. You've got this one being used at another client as a total gym. You can use it as a standing frame. I mean, I think of one of my first clients was a quote-unquote complete spinal cord injury patient, a world-class swimmer, the next Michael Phelps, true story, with Trumbull. He dove into the same part of the ocean on Block Island he has for 22 years. And this time, he hit a sandbar and broke his neck. So he broke his neck at C4. That wasn't the problem. He drowned. So his uncle, a master swimmer like this guy, swam, saved his life. He recovered, never was allowed to walk in any physical therapy program anywhere in the state, in Massachusetts, or on the East Coast. So his physical therapist heard about us in Shelton. This is 7 years ago. We were just starting this type of a program. He came to us, and the first day I stood him up. His mother cried. And within weeks, his physical therapist was so excited, she volunteered from 4 to 5, 3 days a week, to help us step walk him around our traverse that we had in the ceiling. And he was able to walk for the first time. And then he qualified for a pretty much a lifetime program as a research subject at the world famous Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, where he now lives very close by with his wife. He's married, which is wonderful. Be about 28 now. So we were able to get him to do something that no one else could possibly ever do. But he was only one person. There are literally tens of thousands of people in New England, thousands in Connecticut that are like him right now. Now we can do that with this machine in every community. We would want this machine to be in every community in Connecticut. We have to bring this technology to the community.
Very grateful for coming here at the center. If it wasn't for them, I probably won't be walking today. I love to walk with a cane. that was a big step. So I'm very grateful for coming here with Tad and all that.